Hey there guys, today we'll be painting Aeris the Elf Ranger from the Reaper Bones miniatures line to the ultimate level standard. Open her up, make sure you recycle your packaging. First things first, take a sharp blade and carefully scrape the casting line from the model. Make sure you're very careful at this stage and always cut away from yourself. Finish it off with a file. Ultimate level models come with a base to mount the model on. Grab some super glue and gently stick her to her base. Also included is a pot of sand. Carefully apply superglue to the top of the base and dip it in the sand, followed by dipping it in salt to fill in the gaps. Today we'll be using the colours Muddy Olive, Olive Green and Pale Olive, Earth Brown and Leather Brown, Fair Skin and Fair Highlight, Fire Orange and Marigold Yellow, and Pure Black and Linen White. I've started by giving her an all-over coat of Muddy Olive with my airbrush, although you can do this by hand if you wish. It's important not to use spray primers as they can damage this type of plastic. We'll get the messy stuff out of the way first and paint her base. Base coat the top with pure black using an old brush. Next, take some linen white and add a little to the black on your palette. Mix them together and wipe off the majority of the paint on a piece of tissue. Gently brush this across the surface of the sand to bring out the detail. Add a bit more linen white and repeat this process, concentrating on the top of the sand. We'll layer up her clothing first, as this is the majority of the model's surface area. Get some Muddy Olive and Olive Green and mix them in an 80-20 sort of ratio. Paint this onto the model, leaving the darker base coat in the recesses. Add a little more olive green to the mix and repeat over a smaller area, leaving the previous step showing to get a slow colour gradient forming. Repeat again with 40-60 ratio of Muddy Olive to Olive Green now, as we can see the colour change is leaning towards pure olive green. Next, use a layer of pure olive green, concentrating only on the upper portions of each surface. Finally, we'll do a highlight with a 50-50 mix of olive green and pale olive, painting a thin line on the edge of each section of her clothing, like the tops of her legs, the edge of each fold in her armour, the highest points on the creases in her clothing. Repeat this several times, painting a smaller and smaller area until the very highest points and edges are painted with just pale olive on its own. Base coat all the brown bits of the model with an 80-20 mix of earth brown and pure black, which should come out as a nice chocolate colour. Use this to base coat her boots, van braces, bow and the threads on her clothing, as well as the fur trim on her cloak. Once that has dried, layer up her brown areas with earth brown on its own, leaving the darker base colour in the folds and recesses. When it comes to painting her fur trim, use a technique similar to dry brushing, which I call wet brushing, which involves dragging your brush over the raised areas of the model while there is still a fair amount of paint on it. This makes a different effect to dry brushing and isn't as messy. Once this is done, we'll leave her trim as it is and concentrate on the other brown bits. Mix up a 50-50 combo of earth brown and leather brown and continue layering her boots, band braces and bow with the same approach as her clothing. Add progressively more leather brown until you're happy with the colour gradient. We'll leave her bow here and we'll finish off with a highlight line of pure leather brown on her boots and band braces. Moving on to her hair, start by base coating it with a 50-50 mix of leather brown and fire orange. You'll need 2 coats of this to get solid coverage over the green. Layer this with a 25-75 mix of leather brown and fire orange, painting each lock of hair individually, leaving the darker colour showing through in the shadows. Finally, add marigold yellow to your previous mix, about 50-50, and highlight the highest strands of her hair. Base coat her skin with a 50-50 mix of leather brown and fair skin. Again, you may need 2 coats at this stage, so keep them fairly thin. Layer this up by adding in more fair skin and leaving the shadowed areas like under her chin and around her eyes the previous colour. Use fair skin by itself to paint her forehead, her nose, chin, lips and individual fingers, and then repeat on the highest points with fair highlight. It's just a matter of adding fine detail at this point. painting her eyes with linen white with a black pupil, adding a bowstring with some thin cotton that fell off my dressing gown, and gluing a bit of tarragon to her base, but these are all optional. So that's it finished. Now don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.